With the Hoopland update finally being accessible for all players, I want to cover all of the new key features that have been added to the 1.07 update. And if you guys enjoy these types of videos, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps the video out a ton. The first thing that you're going to notice when you load up the new update is the new front office tab. Starting from the top down of the front office tab, you will now see your inbox here. Obviously, this is where you can see, your injuries, your selections to your all-star games, contract exceptions and rejections. But now it is just located in the top. And moving down, we will now see the new trade block feature, which is where we can put players that are either disgruntled or that we want to potentially get offers from the CPU on the trade block. We can also scroll through each team and see who's untouchable and who might be up on the open market. They've also added CPU for CPU trades, which makes your league feel so much more lively. It adds a true heartbeat to everything, and now you will see a ton of trades. Now, I won't say that they're all unrealistic, some of them more realistic than others, but teams are not afraid to make moves, which I do like. I would much rather have teams making different adjustments than completely staying stagnant all season long. And like I said, when you put somebody up on the trade block from your team, you will then receive offers from the CPU. You can then make counter offers as well, and this will all be found in the inbox. And now we also have the create a trade button, as opposed to having to click on a player and add them to a trade in order to initiate a trade. Now you can just click the button and start it from scratch. Now moving to the final level, we now see coaches, free agents, and the search feature. So basically, if you're trying to get anybody that is not currently on a team, this is where you'll find them. And clearly, if they've added free agent coaches, there must be... That's right, an entire coaching overhaul. There is now 4 coaches that you can add to your team: a head coach, a development coach, an athletic trainer, and a talent scout. So now we have an entire coaching staff, and each of them have their own individual features. So let's start with the head coach first. There is not a ton of, overall tendencies yet or a lot of depth to each coach, but we do have the wins and losses as well as the overall rank for each season, and you can also find their contract there as well. Now in the development log, they talked about coaching tendencies as a whole, whether it be bench rotation, what they prioritize, for youth, crashing offensive glass. There's a lot of different tendencies that they're going to be adding as this update continues to progress. Now we're going to move down to the development coach, and this guy is extremely important. You're going to see the XP, the ratings for each of your players, as well as their overall potential and what they can end up developing into. And we have a development focus for every single player. So if you have a specific player, if you want, your big man to get better at crashing the boards, you can set his focus to maybe defensive rebounding. If you have a wing that can't really stretch the floor, you can make him focus on outside shooting. So that is a very nice touch. You can develop your team in the way that you want to. Now moving on to the athletic trainer. Now we have the ability to improve strength, speed, and stamina. We can also select just to rest our players. Maybe as the season starts to progress, you want to kind of bring it down and just, make sure they're not getting too fatigued. You can also see all of your players' status, whether they're injured or not, and what their conditioning looks like. And as we move down to the final coach, being the talent scout, this is basically where you can see kind of a big board, if you will, all of the players in the upcoming draft that you have scouted and who you've watched. Kind of organizes everything for you. I like this touch a lot. And all of these coaches coincide very well with the new facilities. We have 4 new facilities. That is the medical, the training, the analytical, and the arena. So all of these things have their own different improvements as you upgrade from the basic all the way up to world class. So for the medical facility, you have the ability to upgrade 5, 10, and 25% injury recovery as you progress up the tiers. With the training facility, it's the exact same progression as far as the cost for each upgrade and the overall percentages, but instead of it being injury recovery, it is actually XP progression. The analytics side focuses on getting different scout assignments, so you can go from 3, 5, to even 10 at a time. And then upgrading your arena is going to get you more coins as a whole, which again, 5, 10, and 25% for world class. So upgrading your arena is kind of playing the long game, hoping to eventually just get more coins and then being able to upgrade things later on. Just remember not to spend all of your coins on upgrading your facilities, because this is the same exact currency that you use to offer free agent contracts. It doesn't really matter how awesome your training facility is if you don't have any actual players on your team. And what I love about the coaches and the facilities is all of these things can be edited in the league customizer, so when you get into a season, you can already have teams with certain advantages or disadvantages based on their real life counterparts. So if a team like the New York Knicks have a great home field advantage, you could stand to upgrade their arena. Or if a team always knocks it out of the park when it comes to drafting, maybe they have more scouting assignments. I think about a team like the Heat that constantly has pro-ready players. Maybe that would be a team that would have more XP progression. I'm going to be adjusting my rosters when it it comes to coaches and facility upgrades, but that'll come in due time. And at the top of the front office tab, you're going to see team conditioning, team morale, and fan support. Team conditioning is definitely going to play a part as far as potential injuries. Team morale is going to affect a lot of teams' overall trade block because that is what's going to determine whether teams decide to put players on the trade block. Now, if you're a certain age or have an extremely high potential, there's going to be some players that are untouchable, but the majority of these players are going to be traded based on morale. So that means teams are kind of going to fall into maybe a selling or buying category, because if your team morale is low based on a lot of losses, you're going to be selling off your players. You can see your team's individual morale if you look at your lineup category, but you can't see other teams' specific player morale. So if I were you throughout the season, I would definitely scour the trade block and see who's potentially up there. And a lot of that's going to come down to winning and losing. A lot of these things are all dynamic based on how your team is progressing and actually playing each season. If you click on the team logo in the top left, it's going to open up a team's history, stats, and schedule. But then if you click on that again, that's where you're going to get into the information aspect of each team. Being able to change their uniforms, change their courts. Something else you can adjust is the announcers table. So each team has 2 specific announcers that'll travel with them on the road, and obviously will be at all of the home games. And we have a rotating scores table with different advertisements, up to 7 customizable ads. I've been making my own ads, whether it be for my channel or, you know, realistic NBA ads that you might see like Starry or State Farm. I've just kind of been messing with it. Again, it adds so much more customization. Now we have cameramen as well, which has been added to a lot of courts. You know, when people make custom courts, they would have like flat sprites. Now these cameramen actually have a little bounce to them. It makes the arena feel so much more lively. Again, we've got announcers, we've got a rotating scores table, we've got cameramen, and we now have dynamic crowd size. Based on your fan support, you could see a packed house, you know, maybe everyone's going crazy, and then I have literally seen with the worst fans 2 people at the entire game. And obviously this is going to be all depending on your fan support, whether it be in the orange, in the red, in the green. It's all going to vary based on percentages, and you will see this dynamic fan support as you play your season and as your team starts to do really well, or maybe starts to really shit the bed. And with the arena feeling so lively, we now have a new way to play the game. We have a new camera angle called the broadcast angle. Basically, your court is angled downward and the players are still upright. So it looks a little bit more like what you'd see with that top-down angle when you actually watch NBA games. We also have the ability to hide the UI as a whole if you want to add your own custom scoreboards, or you can just make it more minimal without all of the statistical pop-ups at the bottom and the different, you know, attributes in the left corner, which I definitely will be playing on. It makes it a lot easier to look at, and for videos, it definitely makes it a lot less cluttered. There has also been a shoot around feature added before each game in the franchise mode. If you want to just kind of see your players, you know, shooting around, especially on like an away court, and just kind of see what it looks like, you can also call plays and run different stuff, just kind of ghost plays because there's nobody on defense. But it's a nice touch, you know, it adds some fun to it. They also added banners for championships and retired numbers when you go to different stadiums, so that's also a really nice touch as far as adding history to your league. When you're customizing a new character, as opposed to just typing in their name, their hometown, height, weight, and position, you can also adjust their ratings and their archetypes. So you don't have to go in and tweak as much, which definitely helps out a lot. And now when it comes to awards, we have a team award option, which is actually awesome because instead of, you know, trying to make an all NBA team and make 5 different awards for each position, now we could just make all NBA, click team, and it'll create 5 different players to win that award. So we can have defensive teams, all NBA teams, all rookie teams, maybe like the league's worst starting 5. You could really do whatever you want with it. Moving on to simulation, we now have the ability to stop at any point, which is really nice. And also, every single time you get a notification, it'll actually pop up and let you either view the message, ignore that specific message, or completely ignore all messages. And you will also see notifications from your inbox in the top right. But I would not ignore your messages very often because now injuries are going to play a much larger role in your franchise. Injuries have been scaled up quite a bit as far as, you know, the length of severe injuries, which is going to make depth a lot more important in your league. Also, the base rotation for all teams is not 13 anymore, it is now 10, so you're going to see a lot more scoring off of your bench. The CPU signing algorithm has also been improved quite a bit, so you're going to see those top end players getting a lot more offers, especially from teams that aren't just the team they previously played for. Now there's going to be a lot more bidding wars for those top end players. Something else that's been added to the game that's extremely important with regards to game planning is an adjustment to the offensive game planning. So previously for defense, you had the ability to set specific matchups and whether you want to pressure those guys or, you know, maybe double team. Now on the offensive game planning side, we have the ability to select first, second, and third scoring options, those players' usage rates, whether they want to focus inside, mid-range, or outside. And now we have the ability to customize our playbook and whether we want those specific players players to use our playbook or just go based on auto. I would like to see this eventually come over to the head coaching side for offense and defense. So when those tendencies get added to the head coach, we don't just have, again, wins and losses. We have some actual depth and personality, and also just schemes for what that specific head coach likes to run. I expect quality to definitely fit in those coaching tendencies and really focus more on the player morale aspect, because now we're getting to a point with the depth of this game to where each team and each player really has their own personality. Player morale and player motives already play a fact when it comes to free agent re-signing. Now we have player movement being based on morale as well. I think that you can continue to add storylines and overall just depth to each individual player by really fleshing out the morale system. And as we look forward to what 1.08 could have, obviously player skills and career mode are basically all people want to talk about. Now, whether career mode is added now or in the future, I don't know. I think that's one thing that we gotta have a better layer of groundwork and just a better foundation to the game before we really start to add an entire new game mode. I want career mode just as bad as everyone else, and you will continue to see that on my channel, even if it is a little bit fewer and far between. But let's focus on getting this game to where it needs to be so it can handle a new feature like career mode. Again, I think fleshing out the morale system and adding more just quality of life and depth is just the best thing this game can do. And I think that a lot of other mobile games and sports mobile games specifically need to take note of what quality is doing. Let me know in the comments or in the Discord down below what your guys' most excited feature for this update is. And if you've made it this far, again, please be sure to like. It helps the video out so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.